ask you two questions at first. I'll begin with asking about technical debt. It's created intentionally and unintentionally while building software applications across. But how do you deal with it? What is your opinion on that?
So technical debt is something which will always follow, right? Whenever a software is built, technical debt always gets accrued up, and then there is a theory behind it. Actually, there is a similar to the theory of Charles Darwin theory of evolution, right? There is a theory of evolution in the software side, and the two laws I'll mention. One is that any software, right? Uh, it has to evolve, otherwise it loses its utility with time, right? And the second is as the software evolves, it tends to become complex, and hence something must be done to reduce the complexity. So technical debt actually is about resolving the complexity of the software. Now, how do we deal in Practo? So we are very methodical about it actually. So we do a quarterly planning of what items the engineering team is going to work on, and as a part of that we actually dedicate a certain percentage of our bandwidth towards the technical items, and typically it is 10 to 20%. Now we ask the engineers who are like owning that piece of code actually, right, or owning or maintaining, to kind of create a backlog of technical items, technical debt items, right? And then for those items we also ask them to create the value. Let's say once we have addressed that debt, in terms of refactoring the code, or in terms of building a new way of doing things, what is the savings going to be? And it can be the amount of time to build a feature in that area, it can reduce drastically, let's say 50%, 60%. And the second can be, maybe the number of bugs itself that comes in that area, that can go down. So once we have the ROI, and then we also kind of try to get the cost side of it, like how much time it will take to address that debt part of that area. Once we have that, and based on the constraint of 15% or 20% bandwidth, we kind of prioritize those items, and we do it quarter on quarter. So that way we never kind of build actually a huge debt, in a normal way. So this is one good thing which we do. Yeah, thank you.
One more thing we would like to understand is if 80% of applications have some open source component of code. So how do you mitigate that kind of risk?
Yeah, so I think that so today let's understand, right, how is the open source software being used in Practo, right? So typically, let's say an engineer is there, and he wants to use he wants some functionality. So he typically looks out at the open source community whether it already exists in some form or in some library. And once he gets it, he also looks at like whether it is used by other companies, and what are the vulnerability, or what is the stable version of that. And that's how he uses it. So here I think uh, I I think every engineer is making that choice of using that software. And we can centralize it. I think we were not built that kind of centralization process where we have a team or a committee of a group of expert people who actually take this open source software, right, and then they can vet on them whether it is to be used or not. But what we do is, once the software is used, right, as a part of our regular security practice, we actually run all our systems, right, through a third party vendor, right, and they actually test our applications. And while they test our applications for the security vulnerability, they also test for all the open source software which is used actually, and whether they have some vulnerability. And basis that, they create a list of vulnerability both in the open source software which we have used, and then there is a priority there. The high priority ones is something which we immediately address. The low priority ones, we kind of create Jira actually bugs, and we try to address it over the next few weeks. So this is the practice which we do actually, to make sure that the open source software which we use are kind of secured, or in case if we have like unintentionally used unsecured ones, then we kind of quickly remedy that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Amit.
Thanks so much.